synthetic opiate. So it's a new thing. Today I stand before you not as a recovered addict, but a voice for the millions that have been silenced by the opioid genocide that's ravaging our country. I've been through the hell of addiction, seen the faces of death, and felt the sting of betrayal from the very institutions that should have been protecting us. And I refuse to stay silent. I refuse to let this genocide go unchecked, unpunished, or unanswered. The time has come to rip the veil off this broken system, to expose its corruption so we can demand radical change. A key part to taking control is understanding how Big Pharma, the government, and the healthcare system have failed us. By educating yourself to the root causes of this opioid epidemic, we can advocate for ourselves in a system that often prioritizes profit over care. The very agencies that were tasked with safeguarding our health are complicit. They took blood money while turning a blind eye to the mounting death toll, rubber stamping these drugs as safe, betraying us, selling us out for just a few pieces of silver, condemning millions to live a life of addiction, misery, and death. This isn't just negligence, it's collusion and treachery that reaches the highest levels of our government. But enough about them, let's talk about us. What we, the survivors of this genocide, the recovering community, and the still suffering addicts, those who work tirelessly to save lives, can do to fight back. We can no longer trust the FDA to protect us. We need to establish a new regulatory body, one that's independent, transparent, and accountable to the people, not Big Pharma. This people's FDA needs to be made of doctors, scientists, and activists who have no ties to the pharmaceutical industry. They need to prioritize public health over profit and be empowered to hold corporations accountable for their crimes. The pharmaceutical industry should not be in the hands of private corporations whose motive is only profit. We need to nationalize Big Pharma and bring the production of these life-saving medications under public control. This would ensure that the drugs are priced fairly, safe, and effective, and that they can focus on healing, not maximizing profits. We need to treat addiction as a public health issue, not a criminal one, and that's going to start with us taking control of the supply of these dangerous drugs. The Sackler family and every executive that's profited from this genocide needs to be completely stripped of their wealth, power, and their freedom. They need to be tried for crimes against humanity, and their ill-gotten gains seized and used to fund addiction treatment, recovery programs, community rebuilding efforts. We need to make an example out of them to show the world that we won't tolerate this kind of exploitation and greed. The recovery community is to take the lead in rebuilding. We need to establish community-based treatment centers that are ran by people who have lived through addiction themselves and understand the struggles, that will be committed to helping others heal. These centers need to be free, accessible to everyone, and focus on holistic long-term recovery. We need to provide not just treatment, but housing, education, job training, and support for the families affected. We need to rebuild our communities from the ground up, and that's going to start with us here today. Taking back control of your life after addiction is an act of defiance. It's a personal revolution, a reclaiming of your mind, body, and soul from forces that have exploited your pain for profit. But it's also a collective struggle. It's a fight against a system that's designed to keep us sick, sedated, and oppressed. Taking control is to rebuild from the ashes of this destruction. It's to find purpose in the very thing that once tore you down. It's about fighting for your life, your community, and all of those that are still on the thrones of addiction. Together we can dismantle this institution that has profited from our suffering, and we can replace it with something better, something just, humane, that's rooted in love and solidarity. For every person hurt by this epidemic, we will no longer be victims, we'll be the archetypes of our own future. Together we can reclaim what's been stolen from us and create a system that heals, not destroys. Addiction is not a moral failure, and taking back control means rejecting the stigma of shame that comes with it. So this is the moment right here, right now. I'm drawing a line in the sand. This is the moment where you need to decide whether you're going to remain shackled by the chains of corruption or whether you're going to break free with me and rise as a warrior for justice. No longer can we afford to sit idly by while our loved ones perish, our communities crumble, and they continue to profit from our pain, but yet walk free, growing fatter from the spoils of our suffering. This isn't just a fight for policy change, nor am I interested in only holding a couple of corrupted officials accountable. This is a war for the very soul of our society. It's a war between those that believe human life is sacred and those that would trade that life for a quick buck. It's a war between the forces of greed and the forces of compassion, between the merchants of death and the warriors of life. So rise with me as a warrior, not armed with guns and violence, but with an unbreakable resolve as somebody that's seen too much, lost too much to ever go back. We need to be the voice for the voiceless and the power for the powerless. Sorry. The light that burns away darkness of greed and corruption. Help me tear down these walls that have been built around us, the walls of deception through propaganda, the walls of greed. Let's break them down with the truth. Stand with me shoulder to shoulder, bound by our shared pain and our shared hope as we walk forward into the heart of this beast. So this is my call to arms. This is our rallying cry. No longer will we be victims to this genocide. No longer will we be casualties in their war for profit. No longer will we allow our lives, our community, or our futures to be sacrificed on their altar of greed. We'll fight with every last breath, with every heartbeat, with every ounce of strength that we have left, because we're fighting for those that can no longer fight for themselves. We're fighting for the mothers and fathers that have had to bury their children, and for the children that have lost their parents. We're fighting for the millions that have been betrayed, abandoned, and left to die by a system that values profit over its fucking people.